All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Happy Monday. It's Labor Day, and we're here and recording. We're actually recording on Labor Day because we're behind, but that's okay. We're still here. We still showed up, and we had technical difficulties, which are just really freaking annoying.
Very.
And I think we need to figure out some sort of studio setup or something if we're going to continue this, because it's annoying to have to set up and break down. And I feel like that's when you lose track of what's going on. But anyways, here we are. And this week we're talking about evolution in your business, or resilience, or fortitude, or innovation, change, whatever you want to call it. And I wrote about it in the last newsletter that I published this week, or technically last week now. And I already asked you said you didn't have a chance to read it, but
I did not.
Get in there for people that are interested in a little more than what we're talking about here. I break things down, business insights and stuff like that. And it's been pretty fun. So let's dive in. Let's make this a quick one because it's Labor Day and nobody's probably listening, but maybe. And we always start with our opening takes. And you were going first, Jen, right?
I am. Surprise, surprise. Okay. I'm organized, I guess.
Perfect.
So I just wanted to touch on, we see a lot of people who are leading salon owners, or who's ever leading the salon, just complain about their staffing issues. No one listens. No one wants to do anything. Everyone's lazy. Nobody works like we did in the beginning, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure this resonates with a lot of you. And my advice here is, are you asking your employees or people who are under your roof what they want out of working for you, with you, your business, their future, their vision? Because I would assume you're not. So you don't have a pulse on what this current generation wants out of their career, out of their life, out of their future. And that's why you're feeling all of these things about them that are basically untrue. So my advice is, for those of you who this resonates with, ask your staff individually what the goals are that they would like to see for themselves, and then maybe explain a little bit what you'd like to see for them, and have an open, honest conversation. Conversations aren't always the easiest, but they're the best way to get to the basics and get to the problem and find the solution.
Perfect.
Thanks.
My opening take is, I saw this post from somebody that was a previous friend of mine on Facebook. And I say previous because I had to unfriend them with this one. I don't know why I got annoyed from it, but it was somebody explaining their process. And then somebody commented and they wrote something back like, what everyone needs to understand about me. And I was like, nope. Goodbye. See you later. No, thank you. What would actually make you think that everyone needs to understand you? I think that's such a harmful mentality. And I think that it's a mentality or a mindset that creates weakness. You're so fragile that you believe the entire, or maybe you're not fragile, maybe you're just narcissistic, that you think that the entire world needs to understand you. And that's a massive problem. First of all, why do you think that? Probably because you're spending way too much time watching other people, or thinking billions of people out there are watching you. Mm-hmm. Our brains aren't even wired. Human beings didn't evolve to know that even all the people on the planet exist, let alone be able to watch what they're eating for dinner. It's just such a weird thing. And I think that if we went back to, I'm not saying disconnect, because I know that's a popular thing to be like, disconnect or take a social media cleanse or whatever. That's whatever. Do you, if that's what you want to do. I just think if we focused more on our communities and the people that are like immediately impact or influenced by us, or the people that influence and impact us, that our lives would be much happier.
True.
So that's my opening take.
Like it.
And I have room for one friend now. On Facebook.
Sweet. She'll get some requests then.
I hope not. All right, so let's talk about evolution. I think we talk about this a lot. And evolution, I was brainstorming the other day and I was like, I want to switch it up and start using evolution as the focal point instead of, we usually talk about complacency. Mm-hmm. So if you're not evolving, you're stagnant, you're complacent. And that is when your business begins to regress. And when I say that, if you think something like, no, my business is fine, because I see that a lot too. I had a conversation with somebody on Facebook recently, and they were like, my business is just fine. And I'm like, that means that it's not doing well, because just fine is stagnant. It's just okay. And so the reason that happens is the rest of the world is continuing to move forward. I'm not even talking about just prices of things. We could look at the prices of things increase constantly. So if you don't evolve and change your prices, you're losing. You're moving backwards. You could look at inflation. Inflation is going to be a constant for a long time, forever. So if you're not adjusting for that, you're regressing. If you're not looking around and saying, how do clients and customers want to interact with businesses today compared to 30 years ago when I started, you're regressing. If you're not looking around and, like, kind of what you're alluding to, Jen, with your opening take, if you're not making changes, what do people want now? What do employees and staff want now? What's valuable to them? What would make them want to even be here?
Right.
Let alone thrive here. If you're not asking those questions, you're losing. All right, I'll just keep talking.
You're doing so. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, that's all. That's just all I had for sort of, I guess, an intro. I think people fall into.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say people fall into what's comfortable, and what's comfortable is, yeah, it'll work for a little bit, maybe like 6 months to a year tops, and then you start losing. It's just how things work. So you've got to come out of that mindset. And Jen and I, we probably look at, I don't even know how many different variables or things to try in our business, whether it's new products, new systems. We were just talking about a system that we have in place it's working fine, but we're like, it's working fine. Why is it not really helping us? Why are we not able to push it in certain ways? So now we ask ourselves, how do we fix this system, or how do we replace this system? And I would say, if you're an owner listening, you might be like, this is a lot. Well, yeah, you're a business owner. It's your responsibility. I would say about 95% of everything we explore never makes it to our staff's ears. They don't even hear it. We look at so many different product lines, our staff would be overwhelmed. And they would probably be like, get that one, get this one, get this one. Because people are wowed by, packaging and marketing, and everyone thinks, oh, well, J-Lo's hairstylist did this, so I'll be a billionaire if I do this. You have to pick and choose. You have to curate for your team the things that they want and distill that down into what you can actually make sense for your business. What were you going to say, Jen?
I don't remember exactly, but on what you're saying, I think if you're owning a business, you are working constantly. Todd and I would imagine 7 days a week, at least talk a little bit about where it's going, where we want it to go. It comes up, and it's important because we want to always be evolving so that we are operating in today's world, and we are also operating for the staff that we currently have. I just said it might be something simple as switching up some systems or switching up your cleaning list. Like, if you've had the same cleaning list with the staff for the last 2 years, then rewrite it, reorganize it. Like, you have to change it up, or you will create laziness in your business, and it will be your fault. These things need to always change. Like Todd said, we just recently brought in a new product line. We just need to switch it up. We needed a change. We needed a spice. We needed to get excited. So it was easy to be like, all right, that product line is kind of sitting there. Let's bring in something else just to have fun and get the staff excited. It was a simple change with a lot of legwork behind, like Todd said, kind of sort of finding the right product line and then bringing in a few sample products to then get their opinion so they feel part of it. But it's very funneled into, I could have brought in, I guess, 5 different ones, and that would have been, like Todd said, overwhelming. They would have wanted everything and would have just failed. Instead, it was kind of like, hey, they trust us, so this is what we're bringing in, and they were excited to be part of it, and it created some fun and, like I said, some excitement, some spice. You've got to switch it up all the time.
I like the spice.
Spice. A little spicy.
It's got to be a little
spicy.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good balance.
Mm-hmm.
So why do people fall into this complacency and fail to evolve? What do we think here? I think the number one thing is just comfort.
I was going to say, and it takes work.
I, so that's what I was going to follow up with. It's comfort, and it's just easier to not do
Yeah,
it. But it's always easier to not do something.
of
That's
course.
not going to improve your business, though.
And most people get very uncomfortable with any type of change, literally any type of change. We just changed up. So we just changed up the layout of our back bar. So all the shampoos and conditioners that are behind our sinks, we changed that up. And we have one stylist who legit does not like change. Every time we change something, it's like she has to tiptoe to like get used to it. This change now, so we could freeze and be like, well, if we switch this up, this girl's going to be upset, so we shouldn't do it. Whatever. No, we want the business to always evolve. Change needs to happen. Risk falls on us, and then if we need to explain it, cool. Anyway, the stylist had come in and she pulled me aside the other day. Was like, I really love the way we just switched how this looks back here, and I don't know why we didn't do it from the beginning. And it was kind of cool because as much as she doesn't like change, she's starting to roll with the change and she's evolving. She has grown. She is definitely not the same person than when she first came in with us because we're always changing. So she's learning how to change with us. It's very cool.
That's so funny that whoever that was said, why didn't we do this in the beginning? Well, if we did do it in the beginning, we would be changing it again now. That's
Yeah.
the whole point.
Yeah.
Nothing should ever stay the same. I like how you brought up, we're going to talk about how to kind of break free of getting stuck in this complacency loop, but I like how you brought up the cleaning lists. Our cleaning lists, we evaluate them probably once a year, and you have to think to yourself, I mean, you don't have to. You can do what you want. I would strongly encourage you to look at something as small as your cleaning list and go, how can I improve this?
Yeah.
1% better, 5% better, whatever, if it's over the course of a year. How can we improve this? What's working? What's not working? And then by rewriting those, it gives you a reason to talk to your team and say, hey, we rewrote these. Please make sure you check them, because it's really easy for your team to fall into complacency and go, I've read that list a million times. I don't need to see it again. And then they start missing stuff. The list is there for a reason. We're at a point now where we're actually going to switch up our entire process with those lists. I have everything ready to go. It's in the garage. So I'm going to get over there. We're going to switch it up. And the team, they're going to have to pay attention because it's a new system.
Yes.
Is it more difficult? No, it's actually easier, but it's going to force them to pay attention for a few weeks in order to get everything done.
Yes.
In order to be able to check off what they need to check off, right? And it's not that it's more work. It's just that we're organizing it and structuring it in a different way. You're going to be responsible for letting us know that you cleaned your station, for example, in a different way than you're responsible for doing it now.
Right.
Why is that? Because we've had this system in place for over a year and it's become stagnant. Now I'll go in and check sometimes when I notice something's off and I'm like, no one signed this list that they're supposed to sign, but it's not on them. Right. It's not. It's on us as leaders.
Yep.
So we have to get in there and adjust stuff. So think about in your business, what could you adjust? What are you frustrated with? It probably needs to be adjust.
Back to the cleaning list, just because some people will reach out like, hey guys, how do you do this? Like, and how do you get your staff to buy in? This is not something that, like Todd said, he's got everything ready to roll out, that we just throw up there and we're like, hey guys, check this out. It's new. Do this. Now, this has been something we have talked about. We talked about it in their one-on-ones. They know that it's coming. We've explained why. We went through a bunch of exercises with them so that they know that it needs to change. And I think 9 out of 10 were like, yeah, this system, this is where it trips me up. So we also listened to them, took some of what they gave us, like their feedback, and that's how we curated this next part of cleaning that we're going to roll out. But it won't be a surprise when it gets in there because they're basically waiting for it. They know it's coming and they're kind of excited for the change too.
I have one more why it happens point, or kind of 1.5, I guess. I think a lot of owners out there confuse stability with sort of stagnation.
Okay.
And they think that this is working. And 5, 10, 15, 20 years can pass real quick. And you're still doing the same thing going, this is working, but it's not. You're seeing less profit, if you're even seeing profit at all. You're seeing, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but your top people leaving to go do whatever they're going to do. You're seeing clients probably less frequently. They're kind of bored. Who wants to go to the same exact thing over and over again? We were at dinner recently, Jen, and you probably remember, and I said, I wish this place would switch up the menu. I don't know if they've ever switched up the menu. And we've been going there for what, 20 years?
Yeah.
And I noticed that we go less and less. And it's fine. They can do what they want. But if I'm thinking that, other people are
Yeah,
thinking that too.
for sure.
And so I think it's just important to switch things up, not just to switch things up, but that is part of it.
Absolutely.
There
Nothing's going
is
to work for
value.
forever. And if you've done something for a long time, like this still works, I'm going to assume it probably doesn't, or not as well as it did when you first started, which means that's when it's time to switch it up.
The I said I had 1.5. The half thing is, I think a lot of owners fall into this, and I believe you used to think this too at your last business, but it's the technician over the owner mindset.
Mm.
It's the mindset that is, when something's wrong, the owner will just work more. I'll just do more hair. That'll fix it. Because that's your default. That's what you know how to do. You don't have a lot of skills in business, so you don't know what to do when it comes to business. You know how to do freaking hair because you've been doing it forever. So
Right.
you're like, I'll just double down and do more hair. That doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. I think
That will never grow a business.
a fun exercise here for those stylists or barbers behind the chair that are running a business. Imagine you just couldn't do hair anymore. Imagine whatever your contribution on the hair side to your business was taken from you in any aspect, right? Now, what would you do? How would you run that business? Like you could be the additive. You can be the spice on the business. That's going to be my word of the day. But you shouldn't be the whole business. Otherwise, it could collapse. So it might be time to change your mindset of running your business, running your staff, working with your staff, and you are literally like the spice on top of that.
Yes. So, what are some costs of keeping things? This is just the way they are. This is how we've always done it. We're not going to change. I definitely think declining money,
Yeah.
your profit margins are going to
Yep.
shrink. If you keep things the same every year, you're making
You're
less
in
money,
trouble.
even though you think it's the same. Your haircut hasn't gone down. So, how are you losing money? Because everything else has gone up,
Right.
Sally. It's really not that difficult to understand, but
Mm-hmm.
people get stuck in it. Something I thought of earlier I think I put it in my notes here, but I don't see it. Anyways, it was like, what works with like a $30 haircut and 2 or 3 staff members is not the same thing that's going to work for an $80 haircut and 12 staff members.
Right.
You have to be willing to change as your salon grows and changes too. Or else, where were we? So declining profit margins. I think staff frustration is a big one. So how often do you see, like, I can't keep people. People just keep leaving. And what do you blame? You blame things like rental. You blame things like salon suites. You
Yeah,
blame
no, it's
all
you.
sorts of stuff. Say it again.
I said it's you. It's always going to
Yeah,
be you.
you blame everything except you. Why would somebody work at a place that's not growing with them?
And
It
if
should
you're,
be the other way around.
yeah,
You
you
should
need
be
to show
looking
them
for
opportunity.
you should be looking for staff that's willing to grow with you,
Mm-hmm.
not the other way around. You have to constantly evaluate what you're offering to people
Yes.
and what that looks like. Your highest performers are going to outgrow you. How can they not, or how can you keep it so they're not outgrowing your business?
Right.
I want our staff to outgrow us. I want our staff to be better at hair. That is the point.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be able to run a business if they want to run a business. I'm not afraid of them leaving. What I'll do for our people that are good is I'll put them in leadership positions.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
And help
bring
them.
people on and move them to educators, or we'll move them to management, or we'll move them to whatever as the salon grows.
And
We
it's,
don't really have a
oh, go ahead.
need for everything all at once. When we were starting out, we didn't need managers. We didn't
Right.
need educators. We needed to open a business.
Mm-hmm.
We needed to get it up and running. We needed to discover if we could make it what we had made it in our minds and on paper. We needed to understand if we could build it into reality, and we have. And since it's growing, we have to constantly adapt. If we just put our heads down and just did hair, our staff would just quit.
Right.
As they should.
I think what's important here is if you have staff that's leaving all the time, I'll say at the higher level, like those that are like you said, your top level stylists. The reason why they think it's better to go rent or do something else is because they don't see the next opportunity. So like Todd said, we have people that they know if they were on their own, they would never charge what they're charging in our salon. So they love us for that. We have people that we've put into positions where they can educate in the salon and on a different foundation of bringing in people from the outside and educate to all different stylists around. They would never be able to do that on their own. But if we don't keep evolving these programs and make it so that we always make sure their pricing is always where it should be and keep pushing that, if we don't give them opportunity to do different things that might be fun for them, then yeah, of course they're going to look at other places. But at this point right now where we're at, everybody has the understanding of like, wow, I would not be the person I am today if I wasn't pushed by you guys. I need you guys to help elevate my game all the time. And right now, that's the opportunity we can focus on. Next year could be completely different. It's not going to stay the same. We're not like, oh, we've done it. Let's go take a vacation. There's no time for that. So now Todd's and our conversations are based on, okay, how do we push this person to something else? How do we push so-and-so to something else? We're always looking to like, what's the different avenue we can take with them to show them more and more opportunity. So they're always wanting to be part of what we're creating at Hello.
Part of it too is asking better questions to yourself. So part of owning a business means that eventually you're going to have to let people go.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people aren't willing to grow with you. They just want to do it their way, not your way. And in some cases, we allow people to do what they want. We allow the creative flexibility and all that stuff. But we ask that if you're going to work for Hello, you follow the few rules that we do have because they're very important to us. Mm-hmm. And we explain that. Eventually, it comes time to let someone go. And that's never fun, but it is what it is. Person's not going to grow with you. You've made the choice. You move on. I would say probably the majority of people would blame the person. I don't blame anybody. I just think it was time to part ways. And then I ask questions like, what could we have done different, if anything?
Mm-hmm.
How could we have made that person understand why these things were important to us? And maybe the answer is you couldn't, because some people out there are just never going to be a good fit for you. That's not what I'm saying.
But it's a great time to evaluate or reevaluate for sure.
Yeah, that's all I'm getting at, is that you should be asking yourself those questions. And if you're just like, oh, that person was a shithead, so I fired them. Cool, but why were they there? How did they slip through the cracks? How long did you have them before it came to a head that you had to fire them? Mm-hmm. Now, how much has their attitude seeped into your everyday business, your culture? Those things. The last thing I had for the costs of avoiding evolution or changing was that your clients are definitely going to notice. And I pointed that out with the menu from restaurants. But think of when you go somewhere and you're like, this is the same over and over. It's just the same thing. And I understand consistency, but there can be consistency with change. For example, I saw somebody that asked questions about shifting stations, Jen. And I said, that's what we do at our salon. I explained how it keeps the stations clean, how it keeps people moving around, how it keeps clients kind of guessing. Mm-hmm. They're still coming to the same business. They're still getting the same hair service.
They get a new view.
They're still getting the same hospitality, but now they're getting a new view. Exactly. They're like, oh, you're on this side today? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How often do you hear that? Oh, you tripped me up. I thought you were over here.
Yeah. It's been 6 years and I still have clients that say that. I'm like, guys, I'm always sitting somewhere different. I don't know why you haven't got on yet.
Right. But I watched people in the comments that would like, this would never work for us. Our staff would quit, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, you're letting your staff run your business. That's dangerous, because what happens when your staff gets bored with what they have because they thought a major problem. They knew more than you? Mm-hmm. There can only really be one person steering the ship, or, in our case, we're partners, but we still default. There are still things that Jen's like, this is on your plate because this is in your wheelhouse. And there's still things where I'm like, when we bring products in, Jen talks to me about it, but I'm like, what do you want to see out of this? It's sort of like your wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm. The product one's a good, quick change that affects both sides. Your staff gets excited and your client's like, oh, you have new product in here? Like the line we just brought in, it sold through like 5 or 6 products. And I was like, wow, this is great. People that haven't bought anything for a while are just excited about something new. So that's an easy kind of switch up. Again, as an owner, you're always going to take risks. You're always going to get pushback. That's just part of doing business. You got to get over that. The risks need to happen in order for you to evolve and change.
For sure. So what are some ways that people would recognize that they're in this trap? Because it's sometimes difficult, especially for the owners that are behind the chair every day doing hair. It's really difficult to step back and look at your business and see flaws, because we all want to be like, no, our business is great. Things are going great, or it's just fine. So if you haven't raised your prices in years, you're complacent.
When was the last time you changed something?
Especially if you're 100% booked. If you are 100% booked for years, you're missing major opportunities. And that means that your business is probably suffering. There's not as much profit as there would be. And for anybody that's like, it's not all about money, why else would you open a business?
Yeah.
There are plenty of other reasons, but ask yourself at the end of the day, why would you open a business? It's to profit. It's the only thing the business owner gets. I guess we get the joy of putting together a team, creating opportunities and all that stuff. But if I don't have money, I can't do those things.
Right.
You need the money part first. And money and profit's not just going to, this is probably going down a rabbit hole, so I'll be quick. It's not just going to magically appear one day because you're like, oh, I have to do 20 haircuts and then I'll be profited. That's not how it works. You have to build profit into your pricing structure. Get with an accountant and figure that out. If your systems are just verbal and they're not documented anywhere, you're in the trap. You're in the evolution trap or whatever I called it in my newsletter. I called it something like that, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, saying stuff like, "Oh, my staff just knows."
Oh,
no, they don't. No, they do not. How would they know? If your staff is questioning you constantly, repeatedly, over and over about the same things, and I'm not talking about questioning in a negative way, but like, how do we do this? How do we do this? You're not evolving. You should build a system around that.
There's clearly a hole.
Literally, what?
There's clearly a hole in it if everyone's asking the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say they're literally asking you.
Yeah, for a policy or a procedure.
Yeah, people want rules. They want structure.
Yes, they do.
And then the last thing I had on my list, because I want this to be sort of quick, we can wrap up soon, is that if your growth is plateaued. So if, for example, you're charging $75 for a haircut. I don't know, just throwing that out there. And you've been charging that for 3 years and you're not making any more money. You're plateaued. I mean, it is what it is. You got to change. Yeah, you've got to change something up. So how do you break out of this? How do you break out of the trap? I think probably you mentioned it, Jen, like just audit your systems.
Yeah. Make a change somewhere. Yearly. Simple, whatever.
That not even everything will need a change every year, but I would agree with Jen that probably about once a year, we'll go through, you want to look at your pricing. We do that probably multiple times a year. You want to look at your onboarding process. We do that at least once a year. You want to look at things like adding hospitality. We've been doing that a lot more recently. You want to look at whatever. And any sort of system, your cleaning list, for example, that's what you had in the beginning.
Yeah.
If you have an education program, you do not want to run that year after year after year after year, the same thing.
No.
How many times have you been to some form of education and you're like, I've already seen this slideshow. They just give you the same stuff all the time. And you're like, yeah, this is the last time I came to your event, you had the same slideshow on. That was 4 years ago.
Switch it up.
Yeah, this is boring. Updating your standards is one. So your business is going to grow and you're going to need, as you grow, I would say more constraints around that. The more people you have, the more rules you're going to have in place because you have to manage those people.
Yes.
That's just part of it. It's not a negative for the people that were there. You're not punishing people by giving them new rules. You're just providing structure. And the more structure you can provide, the more creative they can be within those walls. You say that all the time, Jen.
Absolutely.
Another way to break out of it is to work with somebody. Get some sort of a business mentor. Go to a local business group. Call a local business owner and be like, can I buy you coffee or a cocktail, which is even better, and pick their brain. Share what's worked for you. Share what's not working. What are your frustrations? What are theirs? And genuinely try to help somebody else. And I think you'll learn a lot from that. And then you'll be like, oh, I can implement this. And they don't have to be in the same industry. Stop thinking that.
Right. It's sometimes better to be not. You can
it's so much better to be
way more insight looking at someone else's industry versus ours.
I always see stuff that's like, I'm looking for an accountant, but I need someone that is understands hair. And I'm like, no, you
No, you
don't.
don't. You
You
need
need
to
to
really get
understand business.
Yeah.
You need somebody that understands business works like this across the board for any business. Dollars come in, dollars flow through, dollars flow out. That's it. That's how business works. You don't need to know how to formulate or how to do the latest balayage technique to look at a P&L. It doesn't make sense why people are so stuck on that. So if you can find a business owner that's not in your industry, pick their brain.
Yes.
Especially if there's somebody that's an innovator, especially if there's somebody that's progressing. Try to get in the room with them. Might not even be easy to get in the room with them because they're busy. And why would they want to hang out with you? Right?
True.
They're busy running their business. But oftentimes what I find is the people that are in those positions are very generous with their time. They want to help others. That's why they do this. It's problem solving. And they want to help you problem solve. Another way to get out of this, because it can seem really, really overwhelming, is to just make, I call them nudges. You want to make little changes in your business over time. That stuff compounds, and it's not going to frighten your staff, and it's not going to overwhelm your clients, and it's not going to make you not sleep at night.
I was going to say, it's not going to give you a panic attack.
Yeah. If you try to overhaul your business in like a week,
no. Oof.
Everyone's going to leave.
Yeah. Baby steps.
You have to make those small changes. And again, rather than making all these changes, having a ton of mistakes to deal with all at once and being completely overwhelmed, taxing your staff, taxing your clients, nobody wants this. Now you're working backwards. Instead of doing that, one little thing, let it go. Next little thing, let it go. And that stuff compounds. And before you know it, a year or two later, you're where you want to be. If you try to do it all at once, I will warn you, it will probably bite you in the ass. We've tried to make massive changes before in the business, and we had one time our whole staff quit.
Awesome.
Whole staff quit. And it was awesome because now we have a problem to solve. And guess what? We solved it. Here we are.
Now, for sure.
And I think just reflecting on yourself, this was the last thing I had to say. Just look at yourself and look at your business. What systems, for example, do you have that don't serve you anymore? They could be changed. They could be improved. Just ask those little questions. Jen has talked about going into other businesses and observing. What do they do here that I can steal? What do they do here that I don't like? What do they do here that works really well that I've never even thought of putting in a hair salon? And then format it for a hair salon and then plug it in.
Yep.
We learn stuff from restaurants, dentist office, all sorts of different businesses. Yeah. We went out we had a little date night over last weekend, and we went to a couple different restaurants, and I was pulling all sorts of ideas.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And stuff. And we actually find, I enjoy, we're not talking necessarily about hello, but we'll comment, I like how this business does this. I like how this. We went to one place and I was like, why is everyone so friendly? They were over the top, hello, second you walk through the door,
weird.
welcome. People were walking by I didn't even know worked for there. I was like, is this what's that movie, the Stepford Wives, where they're fake or whatever? Because everyone was like, welcome, we're so happy you're here. And then I was just like, oh no, that's a system built in. Because it was every single person.
Yep.
We sat down at the bar and I think 3 or 4 people came over and said hello. Little stuff like that.
They made you feel like you were a regular at their business, even though it's the first time we'd ever been there. It's really cool.
What else do we have? I guess we can wrap up on that, Jen.
Sure.
I think that's good for a Labor Day episode.
Love it.
All right, cool. Get on our newsletter and subscribe to our whatever this is podcast. And
do it.
Reach out if you need help. We'll see you next week. All right. Enjoy your week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.